Gentle fade. And I think I stopped sharing. Okay, perfect. Well, welcome to our second panel call. This is very exciting. This is like a new aspect that I'm creating and integrating, and it is such an honor to have these beautiful guests that are here today. I know all of you here have listened to their episodes, and I'm very, very excited for these worlds to collide and all of the unique weavings behind the scenes that we can weave into this moment. So welcoming Mathieu from Cacao Insights, beaming in from France.
Hi, hello.
And welcoming Jen from Jen Open Hearts, beaming in from Michigan. We have 2 Michigan people here today.
Hey, hello, thank you.
Yeah. And welcoming Mallory from My Conscious Birth, beaming in from Florida, bringing the sunshine. Yeah. So as we drop in and allow ourselves, like we always do, allowing ourselves to find the space where we really want to connect from, because we're all connecting with this plant medicine of cacao. It brings us into our heart. It brings us into this heart-centered connection. So in this time together, just allowing ourselves to begin to practice and cultivate the space of coming from the heart, of practicing the energy of cacao through our body and through our words. So we're going to take a few moments to just drop into a gentle centering, taking a deep breath in, exhaling out. I realized I have not been breathing since I started the call, so allowing that breath to begin to breathe you as you allow more spaciousness in, taking another deep breath in, and exhaling out. Feeling your shoulders begin to soften, your hips beginning to relax, and moving from that high beta or that beta, that analytical mind, and allowing the mind to begin to soften like waves in the ocean crashing into each other, becoming more of the ocean. Or maybe it's like butter or cacao melting, just from that hardening, that hard focus into that soft and open focus. And since we have our beautiful cacao here, let's work with that metaphor, that imagery of having this beautiful block of cacao that begins to melt and soften, and melting this cacao into our heart, feeling our heart beginning to fill up with the energy of cacao as we allow our body to relax, allowing our breath to become deeper, breathing down into the hips, down all the way into our feet as we breathe down into the heart of the earth, and then breathing up the energy of the earth, moving it through us, and then breathing out and up towards the heart of the sky. And then breathing in the energy of the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, the air. And feeling our connection all over this planet with all the people that are here on this call. And allowing yourself to feel and sense the space in between us. Feeling the energetic points that we're holding on this planet at this time. And then allowing our presence to come into the here and now. Our hearts becoming the bridge of the earth, the bridge of the stars. And anchoring our light, anchoring our presence, our voice, our expression, our play, our interconnection through our heart, through our eyes, into this circle, into this space, into this panel, at all of the questions that we really want to know the answers to. The connections, the reflections that are here, allowing them to surface. coming from this beautiful heart space. Taking another deep breath in and just leaning back ever so slightly, allowing our hips to just bring us back, our shoulders, our spine actually to elongate and our shoulders to flow back, lifting our chins gently, feeling the connection to our spinal column, to our torso. And that when we sit up straight, when we feel that connection from our hips all the way through our torso and our spine, that it directly connects to our throat, to our voice and expression, clearing and cleansing this beautiful channel for a magical interaction here today. And today we have the honor of Jennifer sharing a blessing of cacao. So if you have your cup of cacao here, prepared and ready, I will pass the mic over to Jen.
Wow, that was so beautiful, Alexandra. I feel like I've already had a cup of cacao from the beautiful words that you shared. So thank you. I want to invite everybody to bring the hands into the heart center, just placing your cup of cacao in front of you. And we're going to start by building some heat, some friction. So just allowing this fire from the heart to dance into the hands, feeling that intensity, that beautiful heat, that beautiful warmth, remembering that many of our ancestors and so many different earth-based traditions have been connecting to the sacredness of the fire, remembering that the sacred fire is within us as well. Feeling that intensity, that heat, and then allowing it to get slower and slower and slower until it's just a little bit of movement. And then bringing the hands apart, feeling that energy that we can't always see, but that we can sense. You might feel some tingling, some different sensations. Just resting in that comfort of being connected to the heart, being connected to our own energies, our own life force energy. And then bringing the palms over the eyes, allowing this energy, this fire that we created to soften the mind and soften the thoughts. And allowing yourself to arrive in this sweet little dark cave that we've created, this safe space within our bodies and spirits. And opening the eyes into the darkness of the palms. And allowing the palms to extend away from the face, slowly welcoming the light back in. Welcoming yourself back into the space. And bringing the cup of cacao into the heart. I'm going to be singing an ikaro to connect with this medicine. So just allowing yourself to receive. Kakasita sunarai, sunarai ari ri ri. Medicina sunarai, sunarai ari ri ri, sunarai ari. Matios sunarai, sunarai ari ri ri. Just taking a moment to give gratitude to the elements, giving gratitude to the heart of the earth. Thank you for holding us, for supporting us, for allowing our roots to stretch and grow and expand, to be nourished and held by community, by these deep, sweet connections that we can choose to cultivate on a daily basis, and remembering that we are connected, that we are nature. And giving gratitude to the heart of the sky. Thank you to the visions, to the inspiration. Thank you to our breath, this bridge and this portal to the present moment. Taking a nice deep breath in together through the nose and letting it go, giving back. Thank you to our voices and the words that we choose to say. May we choose blessings, may we choose creation. May we also choose to create boundaries when necessary. May we speak our truths, may we sing our truths. And may we realize that our words hold so much power behind them. Giving gratitude to the heart of the waters, the sacred waters. Thank you to the waters that flow through our bodies. Thank you to our blood, our lymph, our cerebral spinal fluid, all these waters inside of ourselves, the waters of the womb for the womb bearers, the waters of the wombs of our mothers. Thank you. And thank you to the waters of the earth, from the little streams to the great big sea. Thank you. And thank you to the heart of the fire. Thank you to this great sun for shining light unconditionally in all directions, this generous energy of life force, reminding us of the possibility of our own heart to shine its light in all directions, and giving gratitude to the sweet spirit of cacao who allows us to soften these borders and boundaries and walls that so often we put up, this armory. Thank you to the sweet medicine for softening and encouraging spaces where we can soften, knowing that we may or may not be able to always operate with this purely open heart, but that when we do, we create rich connections. Giving gratitude to all the stewards of the land from the respective lands that each of us are on. Thank you to the original keepers, and thank you to the medicine keepers of cacao. Thank you specifically to the Mayan Sutujil and the Sapara people for their blessings, and thank you to any traditions or ancestries that you yourself connect with. Thank you to each of our ancestors who lived and died well for allowing us to be here carrying this beautiful torch of light. We are feeling very blessed and very happy and so honored to be sitting together in this virtual space to connect with this beautiful medicine. Knowing that when we soften and open our hearts, we allow that to ripple out into all experiences of our lives. Knowing that we're always held and supported. Thank you to all the farmers and all those who've been growing and protecting the fruit of cacao. We are so grateful for your time, effort, energy, resources. Thank you. And just taking a nice deep breath in together, soaking up all that gratitude and joy, and blowing your intention into your cup. Bringing the cup up to the nose, allowing yourself to witness this beautiful aroma. And as you feel ready to take your first sip. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. That I always love hearing other people's blessings because your connection to different energies is like, oh yeah, there's that as well. I'm like, oh, I never even thought of it like that. So thank you for bringing so much more depth and color uh into the moment. Yeah, thank you for that. And let me just check here. Okay. I'm sorry to technical things here. I'm a little distracted in my focus. Um, I would love to offer Mallory. Do you have a song that you wish to share now, or would you? Yeah, whatever you're feeling.
I'll happily go with whatever flow we go with. I actually did have a song in mind though that I would like to share, just even for people. I'll sing just it's repetitive, a few verses. It's one verse really, but it's repetitive. But I'll sing it a few times because this is a song that gets me through a lot of little moments. So it's one worth sharing. But you can hear all those people, right? There's a lot of screaming in the background, and I actually I'm not even going to tell them to stop because I feel like that adds an element of realness to it as well. I always like to preface that when I sing, there's usually kids around me, and I like to kind of sprinkle in these ceremonies throughout my day that don't feel so serious. But this is one of them. And so I also like to find a drum beat on my heart. So I invite you to do the same if you feel called to. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel in your soul you are worthy and whole. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel that you belong. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel in your soul you are worthy and whole. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel that you belong. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel in your soul you are worthy and whole. May you know in your bones that this earth is your home. May you feel that you belong. And I love that song because the elements, the earth, when you taught that elements course, that was such a pivotal moment in my healing journey. And that song brings me right back there. It's like, oh, no matter where you are, if I'm spinning out, if I'm all up here, the earth, the earth, the earth, the earth, come back down to the earth, root back down, do your breathing. But you can just sing too, use your voice. And I feel like that is just such a good practice, a really centering practice that makes you use the vibration. Woo! So good. So thanks for letting me share that. That was fun, Alex.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful voice. And I'm gonna be listening to the recording and like learning that because I felt that all through me. I love that so much.
I'm like, it's odd because this room's echoey too, and I'm like combating them yelling, but I'm like, just do it.
Only you came through. That's all we heard, and your energy. Thank you so much for sharing. And as we have our cacao here with us, we have an amazing cacao sommelier on the call as well, Mathieu. And I would love for you to just do what you do in your cacao bars and offer us the space to explore our cup, how to relate to it in a deeper way. So I'm going to pass the mic to you.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so the first thing I would like to invite you to do is just to bring your cup like right up to your nose and bring that smell in, and try to get as much aromas as you can, and try to connect with your cup and with your cacao through all the aromas that you can breathe right now. So there's a lot, and you will actually notice that the more smells you will get, the more the aromas will evolve, right? You're gonna have access to first notes that are gonna be very light, and then you're gonna have access to deeper notes that's gonna be more at the heart of your drink, if I may say. So yes, the first thing is to connect through the smell, and I like to do that because there are lots of times, and actually, yeah, often, the aromas that you smell are going to be different than the one that you're going to taste. So it's a very different way to access what the cacao has to offer, right? And once you're done like discovering all the complexity that you can access through this sense, you can go and access it through another sense, and I mean tasting it and have have this sip and try to actually decompose all the aromas that you're going to have access to. So again, you're going to have the first notes that are going to hit your tongue and your palate, and then once you're going to swallow this sip, you will notice that there's going to be an aftertaste, and there's going to be core notes that are going to stay with you a little bit longer, you know. And again, appreciating this diversity in the aromatic profile is a for me at least, it's a very important part, sorry, of connecting with cacao, because we are very lucky to have access to such a diverse like a diversity in cacao. And to me, this is a whole part of the experience. It's not only culinary, but it's also understanding how elements and terroir and the crafts and how cacao has been produced as a paste, but also done by you in your kitchen or wherever, how all these elements are going to impact what you're actually smelling and tasting, you know. So enjoy it. And if you manage to, try to enjoy it as long as you can during this call, or at least as long as you still have cacao in your cup, because it's going to evolve the how what you're going to taste during the first half of your cup is going to be different, because obviously cacao is a solid, and the density is going to be different at the very beginning of your cup than it is at the end of your cup. And so different aromas are gonna come in play. So yeah, enjoy.
Thank you so much for that. And I feel like it brings another layer of depth to being even more present with my cup. Like I love drinking cacao, as we all do here every day. But sometimes I forget to just sit and taste and smell and all the layers. Like I wrote in the chat, I smell like, well, there's like this floral note on top, but then it's citrusy. And underneath that, like you were saying, there are different levels to the aroma. Is this like really deeply earth like grounding energy in that. And then tasting it tastes so different. I also put a lot of cayenne in my cup, so it's a little bit spicy. Maybe not the best for tasting pure cacao, but yeah, it's still very, very delicious. I believe, I'm pretty sure everybody has listened to the episodes here. But for those who haven't listened yet, or maybe listening to the recording, if we could just share a little bit about each of you. So we'll start with Mathieu, if you just want to share. I know you did a beautiful introduction with your practice here, but just a general, to give people a general idea of who you are and what you do, and Cacao Insights. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Mathieu. I live in France, and so I created this project that is called Cacao Insights with my partner, and it was a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and it's born out of curiosity, really. I discovered cacao at this time, 5 or 6 years ago, and started to work with a brand. And I had the chance to discover a whole range of, I mean, 3 different kinds of cacao, and they all had their own personality, if I may say, because they were all coming from 3 different single farms from different countries. And so it didn't take so long for us to understand that they all had obviously very different aromatic profiles, but also very different types of effects, and that my partner and I would feel drawn drawn to one and then to another, depending on different criterias. I mean, depending on our context, depending on how we feel, depending on the season, the weather. And we were feeling these kind of connections evolving, and we had this curiosity to ask ourselves, like, would we feel this with all the cacaos that we would be given the chance to taste, or is it just a thing that we are making up in our heads, you know? And so basically we came up with the idea of becoming somehow cacao sommelier and trying as much pure cacao as we could, and trying to draw this aromatic but also bioactive profile. And by bioactive profile, I mean trying to lay down a profile of what kind of effects different cacaos would give. And so doing so, we came up with Cacao Insights, and we had the chance to taste by now like maybe around 30 or 40 different cacaos, and working with like a small dozen of brands, and trying to, and doing so, doing these profiles, we were trying to shed a light on the complexity and the diversity of cacao. And so this is how the project was born, and now we are evolving it and still doing this sommelier work, but we are now working towards putting out more educative content and making this kind of cacao more accessible, basically. So in a few words, this is what I do, and this is what Cacao Insight is about.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're
I think
welcome.
it's so fun. It's such a fun adventure there. So thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. And I would love for Jen, if you would share a little bit about, here we go. Good. Okay, perfect. Yes, if you would share a little bit about you.
Absolutely. I wanted to just acknowledge like Mallory's beautiful song. Like, wow, it really like hit home, and just I feel like that's the medicine I want to remember when I'm in those tough spots in life. It just felt really, really nurturing. So thank you, Mallory. And I loved with Matthew too, just like really slowing down to embrace the cup, you know, because even when we have these practices, sometimes they can start to become automatic instead of like grounded and slow. So I just really appreciate that practice. So thank you both. Um, for myself with cacao, I discovered cacao during the pandemic. Like I was like, wow, like everything shut down. Like, you know, like who are my people? What's going on? There was like feelings and confusion. But then I found a YouTube video, and it was with Caro Arevalo. I might be mispronouncing her name, but she's a Peruvian artist. And she was with Florencia Friedman, who's the founder or co-founder of Cacao Lab. And they were talking about cacao. They were like, you know, on this YouTube video, just had this very happy, joyful, heart-centered energy. And I was like, I don't know what this stuff is, but I gotta get it, because it just felt really pure and like loving. And it was kind of like the essence that I've always felt like I've carried throughout my life, or have tried my best. Like I'm definitely more like an empathic person. So I just felt like, wow, like the heart is so special, and anything that connects me to my heart or other people, like it just makes me feel really good. And soft. So I feel like for myself, I'm someone who really loves cacao. I went through the 9-month apprenticeship, and I just love to deepen my study and just like learn about things. Like I'm a self-study person. I love human design. I love gene keys. I love systems that help us understand ourselves with a little bit more permission and clarity. So I just feel like eternally grateful to live in a time where there's access to different branches of wisdom and tools that can assist us to be more ourselves, because there's a lot of noise out there. So I think my mission and purpose is multi-passionate, but at the end of the day, it's a working for a really beautiful brand called Floracer, where we put out, you know, different workshops, and we have cacao circles and retreats and things like that. So that's like one side of my passion. And then the other side is my own small business that's in its own state of flourishing, but it's called Gen Open Hearts. And it's all about human design, gene keys, and like intuitive business activation. So I'm figuring it out, but I'm having a good time in the process. So yeah, thank you all for listening and receiving.
Thank you so much for sharing. I love hearing, it's like when you meet somebody, you always hear a story about them, but every time you come back, there's a new depth or dimension about their story that reveals itself. So it was beautiful to receive more of you. Thank you for sharing. And I'm gonna spotlight you, Mallory. if you want to share about yourself and your journey and my conscious birth. Yeah, go.
So funny me seeing on the big screen now. I have these are for my daughter, just so everybody knows. Tala adorned me with these. They were not my choice. But okay, so hi, I'm Mallory of My Conscious Birth. I am a pelvic floor occupational therapist here in Florida, and I also am a childbirth doula and somatic healing facilitator. So I mean, really, I bridge a lot of different elements of my life into helping women. Um, Now, pelvic floor therapy is for women and men, but my focus is primarily on women with my small business, My Conscious Birth. And so, yeah, I do somatic healing movement classes. Uh, that's my main offering for my clients. I offer it. I offer for everyone here in the Panhandle, but that's going to be what I come out with digitally too. So I'm super excited about that because everyone's like that I know is in New York and they're like, how can I take your class? Do it online. And I haven't taken the leap into like the virtual live thing yet because I don't know if I could do live, but soon I'll be offering like something that you can do at home. And yeah, Cacao has been a huge part of that journey because I started even diving into my own capabilities after Alex introduced me to opening the heart with Cacao. And it's been a really, really huge, I mean, it's like a modality, a huge like ally. What's the word I even want to use? A lifestyle change. There it is. It's been a huge lifestyle change, starting the day with cacao every single morning. And I talk about this a little bit in the episode, but the whole ritual of it, like from getting up in the morning and saying, okay, gotta go chop the cacao and smell it and sing to it and heat the water, but don't heat it too much. Like I try to stay very, very mindful while I'm even making my cacao. And that slowing down has changed everything about my life. I'm a mom of four, a homeschooling mom of four. So I was at a burnout stage a few years ago before I started this whole journey and changing my lifestyle. And I know that I'm in this for longevity. It's not, I can feel that this is not a fad or something that's just coming and, teach everyone about cacao and teach everyone about mindful movement. Like this stuff is not new, but I feel like we're at an area, a level of burnout as a society that this remembering is welcome. Like everybody wants this deep remembering and like slowing down, ritual, deep nourishment, because it's not sustainable where we're at. Like going, go, 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 no matter what no, whatever cost. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that conversations with cacao specifically has deeply, deeply changed everything. And then, of course, diving into the world of cacao and the complexities. It's such a fun journey. So I'm just so happy to help share it with you.
Thank you so much for sharing like a snapshot of your journey, and so beautiful to have you here and an honor to witness your growth and journey. And I mean, Mallory and Sabine have been with me since like day one, basically. It used to be us on circles, the three of us, we'd show up twice a week and we'd go deep. And I was thinking it was 2 years ago. No, it's something like 4.5 years now. So time flies. So thank you for sharing yourself and with us right now. And I'm going to open up the space here for anybody who has any questions for Mathieu, Jen, or Mallory, any reflections that you had in listening to their episode. Yeah, and open up the space for questions and reflections. And please just unmute yourself and shout out. Don't be shy.
I have a question for Mathieu. I listened to the podcast a while back, so I should have noted it down, my question. But I think it had to do because through the whole conversation, there was never mentioned about the cultures of the different countries that the cacao comes from. And if you note that too, like the culture, the not only the earth, different earths, and of course different continent or whatever, but also the culture. If you could mention something about that as well, I would like to know your insight there.
Yeah, sure. So the reason why I didn't mention any cultures and it didn't come up in the conversation is only because I feel like I don't have enough knowledge about it and enough connection yet because I wasn't given the chance yet to actually connect with those cultures. And so I just feel that what is just righteous from me is not trying to draw these connections because I just didn't have the chance to actually make them. Although I do work with people who actually have those kinds of connections and I I know something about those, but I just don't want to take something that doesn't feel uh, personal and natural in a way. So if you have maybe like a more specific question about maybe one culture that I would know about or one cacao and how it would connect to some culture, I could try my best to actually bring out the knowledge if I have any. But other than that, I would just rather maybe yeah, just rather give you a contact or of someone who is actually more entitled to answer this kind of question, if it makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you for that question, and thank you for that answer. That's something that I actually never really thought about consciously, I guess, the direct, because when I think about it, it's like the energy of the earth has its unique frequency everywhere, and like the terroir of where the plants grow all factors into the cacao, but the level of culture and that cultural imprinting creates its own energy as well. And the effect that that has on the cacao is like, whoa, that's some next level exploration there. So thank you for bringing that aspect in.
I have a quick question, but I guess it's not, maybe it's more of a story rather than a question, but like with the tasting, when I first started drinking cacao, I was drinking Imlakesh, which I don't even really know. I just got from Thrive Market. It was like, oh, there's ceremonial cacao, right? I just bought it. And that's what I was drinking until you introduced us to Akasha cacao. And then I listened to Carrie do like a tasting. So like that was like, again, a really long time ago. And I listened to it and I was like, oh, I gotta get that. And then I tried it and I like couldn't believe how different it could be. Like when you talk about like the smell of it, like I remember opening the package in the mail and just being like, oh, what is that aroma? That is so different. And it was so exciting and fun. And then right, the taste of it, it was so much more like, even I think Sabine said like coffee-ish, like there's a more earthy tone to it. And I just love now like that's a big part of it is like every different cacao I try, I do like immerse myself in the senses of it. So I loved your episode, Matthew. It was really like, oh, I do that too. Like the smell, I like sit with the smell for a few minutes before even moving forward. It's like so fun. But yeah, I wanted to bring that in too, that like Carrie had taught me about like all the different notes and like tasting different things. And then I tried like her lavender one from Cacao Lab, and yeah, that was just my little cacao tasting note that I wanted to share. So
Yeah,
that's my
love
question.
that.
A connection.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a good bridge into maybe, and I can also ask an open question, and if anybody feels like sharing up, I think it would be interesting because everybody relates to cacao in his or her own way. But I'm curious to know whether uh, people from you guys in the panel, like how do you actually connect to cacao? Do you have like only one cacao that is your go-to and that is your companion, or do you have like several that you're gonna have for different purposes, whether you're gonna need like an afternoon boost, or whether it's the first thing that you want to drink in the morning, or do you have another one for ceremonial purpose? I'm really curious about those things and how people relate to cacao really. So anybody wants to share about it?
I'd be happy to. Yeah, so for myself, like I feel like I got hooked on Cacao Lab like ever since the inception of cacao. And like I typically sit with specifically with Cacao Lab, and I love how they have like different elements. So it's exciting and it's fun, and it's like I know that's my bedrock, but then I'll like branch out and try different ones. So for me it's fun too. And it's kind of like thinking about Matthew with the sommelier work. It's like, wow, like what am I noticing? You know, like what flavors are coming up? What do I need today? And so I guess for myself, like it was a lot of fun, like trying a few different brands, but I feel like for some reason, like I really love something about Cacao Lab and the flavors that come through. But I'm always open to trying, but I feel like that's like in my stock cabinet. And I think for myself, it's been really beautiful to have the medicine and swapping out coffee, because I used to work at a gym and I used to be always drinking like the coffee. So I had this like kind of like addictive pattern of like consuming, but then finding cacao many years later, it's like, oh my gosh, like, wow, I get to slow down and here's what that looks like. So I feel like I'm an Aries. I like to move really fast. And so sometimes that fastness can get me in trouble. So I feel like when I slow down, especially if I have something with me that's multi-sensory, I can really like create that intentional space and that softness. And I feel like for myself, it's been a really beautiful medicine for my partnership too. Like my husband and I will share a cup and we'll connect like at the heart instead of like, here's the things that need to get done. You know, it brings in like a different dynamic and helps you like come back into that heart space. Cause I feel like, you know, we can move so fast in our lives and we can forget like, wow, like even if I don't have cacao, I can still put my hand on my heart and move forward in this way. So yeah, I feel like for myself, it's like typically a morning practice, and I feel for me like a fertile way to start the day is just moving a little bit slower. But it does feel like it gives me energy, and sometimes I'll add in different spices and things like that. I like cinnamon a lot. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Thank you for listening.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And if anybody else would feels called to answer Matthew's question as well, please unmute yourself and share.
I love prophecy for when I'm feeling special, when I'm feeling very, very like I need to go deep, or I need to bring the ritual back and focus. It's like the Macambo swirl in prophecy is just, that's like magical to me. So that's my favorite at the moment. But it's not my go-to because, you know, I got to stock up on the other cheaper brands. But got to do what I got to do. But I love prophecy. Had to bring them in here.
Yeah, I thank you for mentioning prophecy, because the very first time I got it, that farmer or whatever I got the batch from was excellent. I loved it. Even my husband, which he only does a little bit of cacao, he loved that one. But with prophecy cacao, you get different batches, I guess. And so I've never like, what was that? I should have noted down, because they always say from where it comes from, what kind of farm, and I didn't, because I didn't know that it's gonna change. It's like, what was it? I want to have that back. Anyways, I haven't actually bought for a long time from them, but I saw that they have different kinds of beans and things. So that is that awakens my curiosity. What are the swirl ones? What's this and that? So I'm about to venture into it again. And then of course, Akasha Cacao for me is when I want that more personal effect. They're very personal, how they package, how they do business for me is really also a factor. And it feels like home, and like it gives me a boost because really it has this coffee kind of taste to me. But my go-to is also Cacao Lab. I always have that at home, and I use that for my ceremonies because I feel like the other ones have maybe more of a punch to it, or more I don't know what it is with Cacao Lab. It is very more on the sweet side. It's more inviting. It's more like this beginner one that I see in Cacao Lab, and it awakens, I think, the curiosity there. So I just love that. I have it most mornings. It gets me going. It gets me into all the projects that I always have in my mind. Journaling. It's very I guess it's like this friend that you can sit together. And Akasha Cacao is more so if I want to personalize, like if I want to tune into me. So that's what I see in those. And I've tried the other ones. The very first one I tried, that was not for me. It's the other very known brand. Can't remember what it's called. Very known. But that was just too strong for me. They're not sweet at all. I can't. No, not Aura. Aura has, Keith. Keith is I didn't like it at all. I don't know what it was about that. Maybe it's the company itself, because for me it's the company, how they treated, how they actually became a company and wanted to share it. For me, Keith, I don't know what it is, but there is something to it that I cannot connect with. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing. And it's so unique. Everybody's journey is so different. And I love that question. I'd love to answer your question, Mathieu, of what to use, like what if I have certain things that I use. And I know we talked about it a little bit in our conversation now a while back, but for me, it's like, what's coming my way in that moment. And I will kind of, usually I have behind me a shelf full of cacao to choose. What am I feeling today, and where am I guided? I love the idea of having a specific cacao that I use for ceremony or for circles, but I think it also ties into what Sabine says with the space of, certain cacaos are more palatable for people who are just starting. And I feel like Cacao Lab has this reminds me of just like chocolate brownies, like this really, I feel like like you said, it's a good transition for people who are starting and opening into this world. And then there are some that are more, it's only the German word comes in, of herb. It's like very strong, almost more maybe made in like a little bit more coarse and not as like fun to drink sometimes. Like it's really gritty, it's kind of heavy, maybe very bitter. And I feel like that's not such a nice introduction for people who are learning to reacquaint themselves. But for me, sometimes I'm like, yes, this is the medicine, like go deeper with it. So I think it really depends on the situation, on the circle or ceremony, and the people who are serving or who I'm serving, and what's on my shelf. Not sure if that answers. I think you got a lot of intel here, information.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love your answers, everybody. Like, it's a lot of insights from me actually, and I'm really I just love to know about how personal this connection gets, you know. And so like for instance, what you said, Sabine, about Keys Cacao, I also have this kind of same feeling. I'm not sure if it comes from the same place, but I do feel this way too, you know. And it also connects to what you just said, Alexandra. Like maybe it's like the harsh part of the tasting experience of it, or maybe it comes another way. But yeah, you know, it's if anybody else wants to share about it, I don't want to take up all the space, but I just feel it's a beautiful sharing, so feel free.
Yeah, thank you so much. I lost track of time. I know that Jennifer has to hop off at 11, so it's 4 minutes from
Yeah.
now. I want to make sure that if there's anything, Jen, that you want to share before you have to hop off the call, any information you want to share that of upcoming events, and yeah, any some final words.
Yeah, I wanted to bring something up too, because it feels important and kind of something I think about a lot. And I'm curious if others think about this too. But like, if we think about different wisdom traditions and how they look at the world of plants, right? They would say like plants have a spirit, there's an energy to it. And so something I've heard in the Floracer cacao circles with Florencia and other leaders in cacao or thinkers and things of that nature of cacao, something that they say is like, the spirit of this plant has a mission. It's kind of like it's working with and through humans, and so it's like if you think about Valentine's Day, right? It's this day of love, it's this day of chocolate, it's this day where the spirit or this essence of this plant is coming into many, many people's lives who may not think of anything as with chocolate being ceremonial, right? They're not typically people who would have a cup of ceremonial cacao, but even this nature of the spirit of cacao is still here to like soften the heart and create these physiological conditions where we're open and receptive to love, where we let down the barriers and boundaries of the heart. So I think it's like kind of fascinating when you think about it that way. It's like, wow, this cacao has a mission. And she's like, I'm gonna like, use the modern world and the modern way of thinking about things, even though, a lot of it's not correct and many of it has been done in like unjust ways, and there's a lot of issues with it. But if we can zoom out really, really far, it's almost like, wow, this like sweet little spirit is like, I want to help soften the heart and open the heart. And it's going to expand into many people's lives, even if they're not aware of it. So I feel like for those of us who are here, it's almost like we're connected to that energetic or that frequency of like, wow, there's something deeper here. There's something more profound. There's something that helps me slow down and use my awareness and really, um, ways that can impact others, ways that can help us heal ourselves and work with ourselves, or just to enjoy the pleasure of taking a cup of cacao and smelling and noticing like, wow, like this thing came from the earth. It took a long time to grow. It went from like seed to tree, and then it grows this cacao pod, and that takes a long time. And then the process of like fermenting and the handwork, if that's like the company that you buy it from, if they're doing it all by hand, that's typically more of the ceremonial nature. So it's like just to help people slow down. I think that's like a sweet little inception that cacao has connected a lot of people with, even if they're not thinking about it. So I feel called to share that because it's an interesting time, and if we're choosing to be here at this time and we can listen to our hearts, we can help soften a lot of other spaces where maybe there's more like mental activity, or there's tension or pressure or stress or whatever it may be. So I feel like it's kind of like undercover Operation Cacao is like assisting us, and I think that's just really, really beautiful to think about and to honor that, like us here and those who will listen later are people who are receiving that frequency of the heart or of cacao, of something that taps us into that space. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. I'm curious if anyone has any thoughts or anything of that nature.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Do you still have a few minutes?
I do, yeah,
Okay,
sorry. I was
perfect.
like, I got like about 10 more minutes, so.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I would love to just share one reflection of what came up as you were of sharing that too, of the journey of cacao and slowing it down. But it's also the co-creation with humanity. This is what humans are taking and making with this fruit of this medicine to make it bittersweet for us to receive that and melt the heart and melt our hearts and melt the barriers around the heart. But there is so much that goes into it that the humans have to facilitate in order for us to come to that healing. And I love that co-creation between the plant world and the human world of how we're actually making we're working together to create this awesome drink, and that's why we're here. That's why we're all here right now. So if anybody has any reflections for Jen or any other questions too before she has to hop off, please feel free to unmute yourselves.
I have a question. Hi, Jen. It's nice to meet you. Where do you suggest we start to even find out like anything about like my gene codes, keys? Am I a generator? Am I a manifestor? What am I? Like, what do I even do? Where do I go?
That's an excellent question. Yeah, I love human design. I found out that I was a manifestor and like it kind of changed my whole perception of myself. But essentially, I offer readings and like do like free 5-minute readings for folks. And I'll be happy to share some of my links within the chat. But there's also just really great resources like myhumandesign.com. You just need your birth date, birth time, and birth location, and then it will show this chart. It's called a body graph chart. And so like human design are kind of like two distant cousins. They're related and then they're separate. So they're different. Like human design has certain qualities and then gene keys is related but has different qualities. So yeah, I would maybe start there and I'd be happy to share some of my information too, because I just love human design. And every time I meet someone, like even on this call, I'm like, ooh, what's their human design? Or like, I want to know.
If you know, drop it in the chat. Thank you so much for sharing that. Projector. Yeah. 3-5 projector. Oh, we have a lot of projectors here. I'm also a projector.
Woohoo. Gotta love projectors.
Very awesome. If there are any other questions that are here. Generator. Oh, I didn't know that, Shonda.
Go find it. I'm so excited after this. I'm gonna go look it up.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember if I'm a 4-2 generator or not. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, that changed like how I looked at myself too. I was like, oh, I need to constantly create things all the time. And that's when I'm happiest. And yeah, and I know I had a nice little we had a cacao circle with you, Jen, and you shared a little bit more in depth with jet generators and projectors and how like we can tap into our intuition in a way, and that was really beautiful. And so yes, definitely go talk to Jen. She's very knowledgeable and quite good. And I guess I have two questions, or I guess a question and a request. Is we met during the cacao apprenticeship, and so I was following you on Instagram for a while, and then there's a time where you had left, and you're going Substack now, and then you're doing emails. And I was wondering, like, did cacao facilitate your decision within that and how you choose to show up online and where you choose to show up? And then my second thing was, is I know I got an email from you and you're doing a workshop. I can't remember what it's called, but it sounds like it's you're activating people's business ideas and getting them clarity on their offerings. And I was more curious if you could go more in depth with that too, and what that workshop's about.
Wow, yeah, those are great questions, Shonda. And I'm just so happy to see you after going through the apprenticeship together. It truly was a blessing. Yeah, for myself, I guess with social media, I was going through kind of like a challenging experience in my life. And I felt like, I kept looking for rewards from the social sphere and it just wasn't fruitful for me. So I had to take a pause, and I'm glad I did. and I wanted to reframe it. Like, what could that look like? And so I feel like that pause granted me access to what I actually wanted to say instead of numbing out. It was like, okay, dopamine detox, and then what wants to come through me. And then on the other side of that, it was like playing on Substack, using my voice, recording a podcast, and just kind of practicing being myself. Because I feel like we all experience different things in our lives. Sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's just like not feeling empowered or confident in all these different qualities. And I thought, like I'm 36, I want to be myself and I don't want to wait for approval. And so it's an ongoing process for me. And I feel like the more I play and take it a little bit more lightheartedly, it's like, oh wow, like this is a tool and it can be fun. So I'm redefining and restructuring as I'm going, and it's exciting, right? It's like what's serving me, what's giving me life, and what's not. Um, and it's fun because you can use your human design to be like, oh yeah, okay, this is not lighting me up. So putting it to the side, but I'm back on Instagram now and just really fine tuning into this new avenue, which is called heart-based offerings. And I loved it because like, cacao, right? It's like a heart-based offering. And so my vision behind it is like this activation, this little mastermind where basically it's helping people connect to what is their heart-based offering, because I feel like many of us are healers, we're helpers, we're guides, we're kind of like the people who really need to step up in a time where things are shifting really fast, because people can forget the heart, they can neglect the heart, and we need our healers, helpers, guides, and feelers to feel empowered and to share their gifts, because the world's changing, technology is moving, and we need people to come back to the space. And I feel like I'm witnessing so many gifted people, myself included, where I'm like, wow, they're not shining and they're not sharing their wisdom. And even if you're not like an IG influencer, it's like, even if you helped one person, like that's phenomenal. Maybe that becomes your business of like, what is that thing? What is that offering? So like the heart-based offering is going to look into some elements of human design and gene keys and sort of help people steer into what are their natural gifts and what is the gift or the offering that they're meant to share in this lifetime. Because if we hoard our gifts, we're not letting it free. It's like a cycle of energy that needs to be moving. And I recognize that in myself. And so I'm like, wow, we need people to like get those gifts out, because there's an openness and a receptivity by more people who want to connect to the heart or to softness or to it's growing and it's evolving. But yeah, thank you, Shonda, so much for bringing that alive, because it feels really important. Like I want more heart-based leaders to feel empowered and excited by their unique gifts, because what human design has taught me is that all of our gifts are so unique and we can take them for granted. So it's like what's natural to me might not be natural to my husband, and that's okay. It's just different expressions of the energy. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer, and it's very inspiring. I I'm soaking in your energy and your words, and I really appreciate you and your time, and yeah, I'm just feeling it.
Hmm.
But I know you need to hop off, so again, I appreciate the time that you took to connect on the podcast, and for trusting the space, and for showing up today, and everything that you brought, all of your wisdom and beauty. And please, yeah, share. I'll put out like another newsletter after this to share your information and any other things that you have going on for your heart-based um, celebration of heart-based businesses. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Matthew, and to Mallory, to Alexandra, and to all of you here. I just, yeah, really appreciate it. And I'm feeling really inspired and rejuvenated. And I hope we can connect over a cup of cacao in the near future. And yeah, just feeling really blessed and humbled to share my voice and to be receiving of all these other beautiful transmissions. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Arrivederci.
Bye. Ah, so beautiful. Yeah, so transitioning from that beautiful transmission, where do we want to go from there? Are there any other questions for Mallory and Mathieu? Or Mallory and Mathieu, do you have any other questions for the people here as well? And seeing what's alive in the moment. Yeah, go for it.
So I have a little question that comes out of the conversation we were having with Mathieu earlier, which is something you said, Alexandra, which has been on my mind, which is like, some cacaos are just more pleasant to drink than others because, like the very coarsely ground is a good example. Like it can feel very powerful, but it also is just like, it's just not as smooth and easy to drink, right? But I seem to recall from the episode with Mathieu that you guys talked a little bit about like the grinding and how over grinding can actually sort of decrease the effectiveness of some of the compounds and maybe just the overall energy of the cacao as well. And I was wondering if you had a theory or thought on what is like that optimal balance between like the very pleasant like drinking without losing that activity. Because I know you were talking about standardizing a little bit. Like I know that's not exactly the right word, but like where do you think that happy spot is? Do you know yet?
Love the question. I want to start answering it by saying what I'm gonna say is very subjective, right? So not to offend anybody, and because I know we all like different stuff, and I'm gonna like some kind of smoothness in my cacao, and some people are gonna like the fact that it's actually coarse because it brings them closer to earth or whatever reason, but I do have a theory, and I do feel like there is like this sweet spot where you have this kind of, I mean to me it's like when you can end up with this kind of perfect cup, which would be like smooth and also fat, because some cacaos are quite dry, and I feel like when there's enough cacao butter in the beans, that makes this texture very just enjoyable. It makes it elevates the whole experience, because obviously you have all these compounds that are going to generate this effect inside you, but you access all these things first through preparing the cacao and then through the tasting experience. I do feel that this experience is going to have an impact on the whole experience, if I hope I make myself clear. But so yeah, my theory would be, and I don't want to get too technical on that, but I do feel like obviously there is a point where we can reach over processing quite quickly, because the techniques that are used when they are not like artisanal but maybe semi-industrial, they are quite harsh if you don't if you don't manage to get this very gentle motions, for instance, when you use a stone grinder. So you have to be very careful about that. And on the other end of the spectrum, for me at least, when it's not processed enough, then I do feel like it's gonna have an impact on my tasting experience, and that's gonna have a longer lasting impact on the global experience. So my sweet spot would be kind of an in between. And maybe you guys are mostly from America, right? So if you've tasted Ora cacaos in the past, I do feel that these guys, for instance, they may be close to the end of the spectrum, where it's almost too processed, it's almost too smooth. And Keys cacao would be on the other end of the spectrum, where it's maybe not processed enough, actually. And so just to remind that this is a very subjective answer, right? And so I don't think of an American brand, or at least a brand that is based in the US, that has this perfect smooth kind of feel that I'm talking about. But I know many here in Europe, and For instance, my favorite one, if you ever have a chance to test it someday, is from Pure Cacao, and I feel like the work they are doing and how they actually try to find that sweet spot, that balance is it would be ideal uh, my ideal way of actually processing the cacao. So yeah, that would be my answer. Yeah, thank you, Alexandra, for putting the name up in the chat.
And thank you for answering my question without me needing to ask it. I was like, what are your favorite cacaos? I have been wanting to try pure cacao for a little while now too, and I realized after I talked to you that you had the connection with them. Are there any other European-based brands that you are aware of, or just global brands that you have tasted that also fulfill that sweet spot that you're talking about?
There are these guys in Italy. They are called Vai Cacao, and they are very close to that sweet spot to me. Yeah, and I might have some more, but then I would have to think about it. They don't come up as fast as those.
Cool. I'll be reaching out to you after this for a list. Thank you for sharing. Oh yes, thank you. Yeah. If there are any other questions that are here.
Yeah, actually, I have a question for Mallory and a comment. Like with that long podcast, it was the first time, and we've been sitting together in circle for a long time now, but it was the first time I heard your New York accent with certain. That was the first time I was like, wait a minute, that's New York, like coffee or like certain words. It's like, oh my god, it's so awesome. I've never like noticed that. Anyways, yeah, it just then got to me that you grew up in a total different climate, total different buzzing noise around you, and I don't think I know what was your initial, like, what do you want to, when you were little or in school, was there something that you want to achieve or become? Was it different than what you are today, and how you feel about that change? I'm not sure if we ever got to these questions before.
Oh, there we go. Oh, what a good question. Oh, that gave me so much to think about. Yeah, like when I was little, what was the trajectory and what I'm doing now? No, I'm not doing anything like what I thought I would be doing. As a little girl, I wanted to do anything that had to do with the ocean and the earth. And I wanted to be a marine biologist because that was the only thing I had ever heard that had anything remotely sounding like it would do with the water or the beach, or that would be fun for me. So that was always what I wanted to do until one of my first restrictions came in. In order to do that, you have to go to school in South Florida. That was my first restriction. Oh, I can't go that far, right? These are like part of my story is that like, I did not really feel like I had the capability of like going out on my own and like having big adventures and experiences. And so like, well, that went away. And so I got a job as an aide in a special preschool, and that just ignited a different part of me, of course, which is just caring for others and being a caretaker and nurturer, and caring for these kids became my passion, and it really did. So I wouldn't say that that was like exactly what I dreamed of doing, but it led me right here, which is what I dream of doing. So that path of going the OT route and becoming really keen on the somatosensory system and working with kids with autism and developmental challenges, that brought me to this space of, like adults need this too. Why does this all of a sudden turn off as if adults don't need these tools? But in school, it's very important that kids get a sensory diet and they have movement and they have nourishment, all this stuff. And why is that so different now that we're adults? Like we have our like sensory stuff. We drink all day. We maybe chew gum if we're nervous. We have our little fidgets. I've been like holding a crystal this whole time, kind of fidgeting a little bit. We certainly get up and move whenever we want to, if we need to. And so I was like, adults need this kind of guidance too, because then what happens is we get older and all of our responsibilities take precedence. And so, especially for parents or caretakers of any way, everyone else becomes priority to a certain extent because that's a survival mechanism. Keep your young alive, they're very important. And then you kind of maybe reach a burnout stage where you need to hop back on the priority list. And so I was like, this is where my somatosensory training comes in. Here we go. Tie these worlds together. Women need this help. Adults need this help. Kids need this help. And you're super equipped to do it. And so I kind of created this space of like, I don't even know what to call it yet, but women's health, OT, womb healing, womb clearing, trauma cleansing. Like, what do you even want to call it? I'm not sure. But I feel like I was like how Jen said that she's kind of like flourishing and developing this business, I guess. And I'm just still leaning into what are my particular strengths that that you need. Like, what do you need from me? How can I serve you with my expertise? And that's been really fun to follow that journey. So that was cool to reflect on. Where did I start? A very different space. Thanks, Sivi.
Thank you for that question and your answer. Maybe it's the New York in both of us that draws more of the Long Island out in the conversation.
Right, probably talking back and forth, like settle right back in.
Yeah. I have a question for you in regards to cacao, and do you also bring cacao into your work with your doulaing and supporting women, and what kind of effects and benefits do you find that cacao has on women during that time, prenatal, postnatal, and and just in the work that you do?
Absolutely. I always recommend it. I always recommend it. So being a pelvic health OT, I also get a lot of people with just digestive issues as well. Digestive issues can wreak havoc on the pelvic floor, cause lots of tension, and then that causes pelvic pain. And so we do a lot of digestive work, and just like coffee is one of those bad boys. Don't do it. And so replace your coffee with chocolate. I want to say, but the chocolate, obviously, like if it's just regular eating chocolate, that's not what we recommend because that's also a gut disturbance. But the unique nature of the medicine of cacao is that it is in its raw, pure form. And then you get all those medicinal benefits from it because of the high, high, high minerals. Right? The really, really nourishing bits of cacao. And then like the caffeine in it is so long and drawn out that it's not the same thing as like a quick bladder irritant or a quick gut irritant. It's a very slow moving energy. And so I always recommend that swap out. Like if you're drinking coffee in the morning, try cacao. And then of course, couple that with slow intention. So now you're not only adding in a little bit of a lifestyle shift of get up in the morning and quickly make my coffee and go, 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 that these women who have pelvic tension, chronic sympathetic activation where they're in fight or flight a lot. We see this a lot. Now you're going to wake up in the morning and just move slower. Have your cacao, set an intention. Make it slowly, breathe it in, and then pray into your cacao. And of course, that can be any spiritual avenue that you want to draw in, because the cacao is here to help you open your heart. No matter what you believe or where you come from, this medicine is so intelligent and so ancient that it's meant to open here. And so whatever you're praying to or whoever you're praying to, when your heart's open, you can start to hear little messages or hear little thoughts. Oh, maybe I'll do that today instead of X, Y, and Z. But it's because you gave your your system a chance to be slow and to ground in before we get moving with our day, which is where the burnout and overwhelm comes from. So I always recommend it. We have a big talk about that. So it's the nutrition in the cacao, but also the putting yourself on the priority list and really centering yourself and grounding before you get started with your day. So those two things really, really help pelvic tension in the long run.
And do you, just a follow-up question, I love that answer. Do you have suggestion for dosing for somebody like for pregnant women or nursing women that would you recommend a smaller dose that they start off with that and see? Of course, like use your own discretion. This isn't medical advice, but
you know,
from what
and
you
like, when we limit caffeine, when you hear like those recommendations to not drink a lot of caffeine, that's usually in very, very early pregnancy. And there are lots of different theories on that. And some can be disproven that caffeine even matters at all or increases your risk of miscarriage. But I would say in your very, very first few trimesters, maybe just keeping it at a half dose. So like, I wouldn't do a full 40 grams ceremonial style, but perhaps like you would hang out around the 20 and like have a lighter cup. But that's only if you're feeling, because again, guidelines, schmidelines, like what does your gut say? What do I need? If you're super nutritionally depleted, have that full dose of cacao. You're going to be better off drinking that if you're having morning sickness and can only stomach, hardly any calories in other areas. And so you really want to follow your intuition. But then beyond that, like I love like 32 grams. That's my number. 32, perfect number. But yeah, you can look into different caffeine studies and whatnot, and then draw your own conclusions as to who's funding those studies. But cacao is nourishing in every stage of women's health, truly.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
And
totally spaced. What were you gonna say? Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh no, I keep saying women's health because I'm used to talking with women, but men's health as well. And I mean that for men's pelvic pain as well. It's not just women. So systemic tension happens to everybody, and a lot of it manifests in the pelvis. So just wanted to clear that up because I keep saying women.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing that. I want to see, I know we're close to time here, so I wanted to see if there are any other lingering questions or reflections for our guests here today.
Yes, I have another question, I guess, and an answer. So, Matteo, I definitely unconsciously was actually taking different cacaos for different things in my life for what I was doing that day. And once I listened to your episode, I'm like, oh, yeah, that just happened really naturally. Weird. And I was like, that is totally a thing. So now I'm really going to pay attention to it a lot more. And thank you for opening up and bringing that awareness to what I'm choosing. And I definitely want to try a bunch of different types of cacao now and really sit with them and see what that's like. So thanks a lot for bringing that in. And Mallory, I love what you're doing, and I'm really looking forward to your course. And I find physically my pelvis is pretty good, but my body really holds onto energy and it gets really stuck. So what are your, I don't know, your favorite things or the things you recommend most to actually get that energy moving if it's very stagnant?
Thank you for that question. Well, if you want to think about even just, oh, here comes somebody. Hold on one second. Yeah.
Eddie had way too much in her mouth and she's not listening.
Are you concerned that she might choke? Is Daddy still awake?
This is so.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
All good. I would love to, let me remove the spotlight. The vision of that you have, Mathieu, of different coffee shops being trained as having their baristas trained as cacao, not facilitators, but the facilitating of the making of cacao. Okay, good. All right, we'll go back to that. I'm talking. I'll be right back.
Everyone's safe. We're good. Please stop. Thank you so much. You asked me about releasing stuck tension or stuck energy. And so I would say, if you feel like your pelvis is usually good, but that you are somebody who holds tension in your body, to do a body scan first. So a really basic body scan of tuning in from the top of the head all the way down to the toes, breathing at each segment. Oh, the gems. And once you get to each segment and you maybe determine, how did my neck feel? Yeah, there was tension in my neck. Yes, there was tension in my jaw. And then you focus your breath into those areas. But I'm going to answer it. So that's my basic answer to that is like, find which area you need to focus on. But is your pelvis really okay? So ask yourself this question. Do I ever feel lower back pain or hip pain chronically? So this is like not just, oh, I lifted a little too heavy that day, but like if you're somebody who wakes up and you're like, oh, there's that back again, and until I stretch and move and I feel like a chronic ache, sometimes, a lot of times, that's actually hidden tension in the pelvis that you don't really see. And so, yeah, take inventory more often than you probably do. And if you do notice that kind of chronic tension, then we'll focus your breath work primarily in the pelvis. So, yeah, body scan, baby. That's my favorite one.
I love it. Thank you so much. And Shonda says thank you as well. Yeah, okay. So as we begin to wrap up, I just wanted to tune in to Mathieu, your vision as well of the idea of having like coffee shops that have cacao. Lately, I've been meaning to get out of the house because I'm on the computer a lot. So I've been going to different coffee shops and I'm like, I guess we'll drink coffee or tea. I'm like, I don't want to. I just want a beautiful cup of ceremonial cacao. So that vision is still in the forefront of my mind of this possibility. And I would love to know if there are any other visions, projects that you're working on and things that you'd like to share at this time. Yeah.
Yes, sure. I'm having this same, I have to battle the same thought every time I go out the house and I want, to just chill out in a beautiful coffee shop, but I look at the menu and I'm just uncomfortable ordering whatever's on the menu because I just feel like the best stuff is back at home. So the idea behind it and what we talked about during the podcast is, as you said, it's a vision because obviously if it's going to happen, it's going to take some time. But it is the idea of just spreading the beauty of cacao way further where it is right now, right? And I think that if we can manage to, through education, get people to understand and to basically know about all the hidden facets of cacao and all the unspoken attributes that it has, I guess we can make some really good improvement in terms of the quality of the cacao that everyone can access to, and quite quickly actually just move on towards less less standardized taste or less industrialized products, and try to get people to know more about pure cacao and what it has to offer. So to answer your question, the projects that I'm working on right now are revolving around this vision, obviously, and I'm trying to. The first thing that I'm doing is that I'm reconstructing, my website and trying to put as much educative content that I can on it, and it's going to be it's going to take the form of articles mostly. And I also designed some trainings that I feel would be valuable for professional in the cacao industry, but also maybe more in the culinary industry in general. And maybe also some other that I can't even project right now, but that I hope would help the vision to spread. And apart from this website, I'm working on these projects where I want to instruct this training to baristas first, because I think they are like very good entry door for people to get to know, just like it happened with specialty coffee. I think it can happen with cacao. So I just feel it's a beautiful way to go. And so I'm in contact with different coffee shops here in France, and also now I try to approach maybe bigger actors such as, you know, sourcing companies who are doing a really good job. I want to focus with I want to work with people who are actually already into the ethical way of doing things, obviously. And so there are some players in Europe, and especially one in France, not so far from where I live, that are doing beautiful things with coffee, and that are just entering the sourcing world in cacao, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And so they are still building on their expertise, and I would love to actually work with them, and so I can, if I can instruct them a little bit about what pure cacao is, then they can have an impact, because they are obviously working with a lot of professionals, and these professionals are working for many individuals. So yeah, basically that's where I'm at the moment.
Thank you so much for sharing that and the work that you are doing. It's I think a vision a lot of us hold in the circle and listening, and just the potential that has of, you know, getting in touch with the right people who have also those resources and the connections, and little by little shifting the narrative, and one coffee shop at a time, having more access to that, so it becomes more and more mainstream. I want to also let people know that your website is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's super informative. There are amazing articles on there. Mathieu has created or has interviewed different cacao brands as well, and has beautiful interviews on his website there. So I would definitely go in and check it out. And with the profiling, yeah, just very, very beautiful. And I would love, Mallory, if you want to share, I know you have an event coming up very soon, and if you want to share a little bit about your offerings and any last things that you want to share with our listeners.
Sure. So my next in-person offering is on March 13th at 6 p.m. That's here in the Panhandle of Northwest Florida. And that is my somatic movement class, where I kind of lay a framework for a daily practice. So you kind of learn the practice here, and then the idea is that you're able to implement that at home to like just aid in whatever healing journey you're on. And that is what I'm going to be transferring into digital format soon, very soon. I have the plans in place. But to connect with me, Instagram is the best way at the moment, and just through email. And so find me at My Conscious Birth on Instagram. And same deal, like I'm flourishing here, flourishing and growing. I'm still deciding on which format, which website, which platform is best for me. I don't know yet. So right now, you can find me on Instagram. Or of course, the email there too is MALARIEM05@gmail.com. And then of course, you can be on my newsletter and whatnot. That'll be the best way to stay up with information. And of course, I guess I should say that's my in-person offering. You can also just schedule consults with me via Zoom or FaceTime. And I like to talk with parents, mothers, really anybody who's needing guidance in areas of anything to do with women's health or the pelvis. We have fertility awareness, conscious conception, even just like dreaming up your birth desires, drafting birth preferences, maybe even just delving into topics that you maybe don't know too much about, but hey, what do I have to look up to know more about my upcoming birth? Come talk to me about that. So I do those one-to-one consults as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I added your information also in the chat. Just make sure that I spelled that all correct. Notorious for typos.
Great.
All right. So I want to thank you all so much for showing up, for being here, for being this far into the call. And I want to thank Mathieu and Mallory. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing the beautiful conversations that we had. And I look forward to future collaborations. I know, Mallory, I'll see you in Circle at some point. You've been so busy. I haven't seen you lately. And yeah, I'm very excited for, oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for correcting that. Very excited for what you both are developing and creating. So I know we will be in touch with future weavings and interweavings. So as we allow ourselves to close space, just bringing one hand to our heart, one hand to our belly, feeling the journey that we went on, maybe how we felt when we entered this call together, and feeling all of the information, all of the inspiration, the wisdom that was shared. And then allowing yourself to take a deep breath in, coming back into presence in yourself, in your awareness, in your home, wherever you are. As you breathe in whatever you want to take with you, and exhale whatever you want to let go of. Another deep breath in, taking with you everything that you want to take with you. And then exhaling back as an offering. As we give thanks to the heart of cacao, we give thanks to the heart of the earth, we give thanks to the heart of the waters and the skies and the air and the ether and the void. We give thanks to all of the elements that support us in every moment, to all of the people who have made our lives possible, to all of the people who have made all of the cups of cacao we have drunk and will ever drink possible, blessing them, their lands, and their families, and their past generations, their future generations, blessing our ancestral lineages and our future, past, present, and parallel, and blessing this moment in each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Closing the space, knowing that it is done, it is done, it is done, and it is fun, it is fun, it is fun. Happy creating, happy playing, happy weaving, and so much love to you all. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
You.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Everybody say bye.
Yay. Yay.